Tonight, securing the region's water future, a multi-million-dollar upgrade to the Todd River Dam, and the end of an era for Broken Hill's YMCA fitness facility.
This is Southern Cross News with Fraser Goldsworthy.
Good evening. First tonight, investigations are underway into the unexplained death of a woman in Port Pirie who was found deceased inside her Risdon Park home. Rachel Nell has more from the scene.
A housemate of the 65-year-old woman claims her body was found lying on the bathroom floor after she suffered a fall around 7 o'clock last night. Local police were called to the scene on Penrose Street, leading to an investigation by major crime detectives who travelled from Adelaide, who have deemed the woman's death as unexplained. It's understood the mother of two and pensioner suffered from a number of medical issues. Southern Cross News has been told she had been living in this shared Risdon Park Housing Trust home for over 4 years, with 3 other people, after living in Laura for nearly 10 years. Her 33-year-old son today told us she was an extremely generous person who was always willing to lend a helping hand to those in need. Her distraught housemates returned home today to collect their belongings, while investigations into her death continue. The scene of the death was examined overnight and her body has been transferred to Adelaide today for a post-mortem examination. Police are now door-knocking the area, speaking with neighbours in a bid to gather information about this woman's death. They're appealing for anyone with information to contact Crime Stoppers.
SA Water has completed a $6.3 million upgrade of the Todd River Dam to ensure the safety of the reservoir going forward. The project is one of several improvements to dams across the state in order to align them with national protocols.
Since the 1900s, the Todd River Reservoir has been one of the original sources of the Eyre Peninsula's water supply. But in 2002, the river was taken offline after increased levels of salt forced the water to become undrinkable. Today, after years of planning, SA Water has pumped new life back into the watering hole.
The upgrade ensures the safety of the reservoir and the dam wall for the community.
The upgrade is part of a plan to ensure water security during the event of floods or earthquakes. Another benefit lies amid its environment.
We'll be doing a significant amount of revegetation which will support biodiversity in the area.
The vegetation will include 15,000 seeds with 40 species of native plants. Although SA Water doesn't plan on using the supply for drinking, it still wants the public to enjoy the reservoir.
This could include recreational access, water for industry and other useful purposes to support the local community.
Fishing has been a popular suggestion but will require further development. SA Water is continuing to work with council so the community has a say.
We're here at the lookout, there are picnic tables, there are the tennis courts, so this is still a useful spot for the community to enjoy.
Jason Kemp, Southern Cross News.
Community groups in Whyalla and Port Augusta have received federal funding to tackle the ice epidemic in the region. The news has been welcomed by local politicians and drug support groups who say they need help to get on top of the growing drug scourge.
It's no secret the use of the drug ice has exploded across the region, and local support groups are in dire need of help to tackle the issue. The federal government is stepping in to provide assistance, funding local action drug teams that'll work within the community.
It's enough money to actually mean to get the monkey off their back on a daily issue and hopefully their hand out of their own pocket.
Whyalla has formed a multi-agency task force, receiving $10,000. Port Augusta's alcohol management group has also secured funding. The agency says they'll use the money to provide more support for the community.
More forums that the Ripples Group have been doing for the last few years. We're also going to train some peer support workers to have some qualifications.
She says the local community is struggling with drug and alcohol abuse generally as well, and the agencies need help tackling the epidemic.
Not only ice, alcohol. Alcohol is a huge issue for our community.
Mr Ramsey is pleased our region has secured Commonwealth support, saying local groups have the best answers to local problems.
If you're a family dealing with an addict in your family, I think it's really important that someone reaches out to you.
John Hunt, Southern Cross News.
Still to come in tonight's local news, the end of an era. Operators of Broken Hill's YMCA say goodbye to the centre's original building. Welcome back. A man has been arrested for breaking into the Central Whyalla Football Club over the long weekend. Just before midnight on Sunday, police were called to the club after a security guard responded to an alarm. Officers say the guard found a man inside allegedly stealing bottles of alcohol. It's alleged the suspect was carrying a pair of scissors and threatened the guard before fleeing the scene. A short time later, patrols located the man in the area using capsicum spray to subdue him. The 34-year-old from Whyalla was charged with a raft of offences. He appeared in the local court today. The Broken Hill YMCA has closed its doors, marking the end of an era for the fitness facility in the Silver City. The organisation's headquarters in the town will now undergo a significant revamp, and today our Patrick Reinke joined those at the heart of the centre for a look back at its history.
With its gates locked and the lights out, it's the end of an era for the Broken Hill YMCA. For now.
As I walked through the building one last time, it certainly causes for reflection to think about the amount of effort, time and energy that's gone into the facility over the years to really give Broken Hill, you know, the positive health and wellbeing outcomes that the city deserves.
This YMCA centre has served the Broken Hill community for more than a century, but now it's ready for a facelift, undergoing a $4.5 million redevelopment. The organisation says tireless work from Shane and the Wiseman's Club led to securing the funds for the development.
On the 5th of January this year, I'm sitting up in Queensland on a beach and my phone rang, and it was the Infrastructure for New South Wales people, and they said, congratulations, you've got the grant. And there you go, the rest is history.
Friday night saw members reminisce while taking a step back in time, before taking one last look at the centre before it's transformed. Soaking up the last few moments inside, Shane said it's been an interesting journey since the YMCA was forced to close 10 years ago.
This is the third consecutive year that the YMCA will have achieved an operating surplus, which back in 2006 it actually closed due to financial collapse. So it's been a journey of rebuild.
Things are now up and running at the YMCA's interim buildings in Oxide and also Beryl Street. The Oxide Street building will be the main home for fitness services, while the BIU Band Hall will hold the Zumba classes.
Well, the expectation is towards the end of 2018, early 2019 for the reopening of the wellness facility for Broken Hill, and we'll be able to provide more updates along the process, but we're not committing ourselves to a date at the moment. It's still quite preemptive to do that.
Patrick Reinke, Southern Cross News.
Residents in Kadena are one step closer to receiving an upgraded CBD. Stage 2 of the $9 million redevelopment is about to get underway, and once it's complete, locals say it'll bring a shot of new life to the town.
Heavy machinery is still very much a part of the scenery on Francis Street, but not for much longer.
October is really the exciting month for us because we will see the end of Stage 1 and we'll see Stage 2 kick off, and Stage 2 will be a much more pleasant experience for our businesses and our community.
After Stage 1 saw the tearing up of the streets of Kadena, there's now a strong focus on beautifying the town.
Put in nice new curbing, footpaths and roads, street trees, all the pretty things that we'll see go in over the next 9 months.
Much of the debate surrounding the upgrade has been focused on the historic water tower. Instead of knocking it down, Council has decided to transform it into an iconic landmark.
To put a mural on it, and then we're going to put a spiral staircase up on top of it, and have a bit of a look out over the town centre.
And the multi-million-dollar redevelopment is on track to be completed on time, with the new sports centre ready for competitions this month.
We're aiming for the middle of next year, so that's basically from where we're standing here in Francis Terrace. New roads, footpaths and curbing all the way to Doswell Terrace.
Rachel Nell, Southern Cross News.
Broken Hill footy export Kobe Much may very well make his AFL debut next year for the Essendon Bombers. Kobe came runner-up in the club's VFL Best and Fairest Award night last week. The first-year player was 4 points behind the winner and 3 votes ahead of the team's captain. Kobe was picked up by Essendon in last year's draft and was named emergency many times throughout the season. Good on him, I'm sure the town's very proud. Well, when we return after the break, click go the shears, all the highlights from the weekend's shearing competition in Broken Hill. Welcome back. The town of Whyalla Flat has commemorated 100 years since the Battle of Beersheba. Participants reenacted the heroics displayed by Anzacs from the Light Horse Brigade, who led the last great cavalry charge during World War I.
It was 100 years ago to the day that Australian and New Zealand soldiers marched across foreign land to what is now considered the last great cavalry charge in history. Over the weekend, Whyalla Flat locals commemorated that effort through live reenactments to mark a century since they charged the town of Beersheba.
In commemoration and recognition of what the Australian Light Horse achieved in the Palestinian campaign of 1915 through to 1918.
The real-life battle dramatisation featured historic scenes from the actual event, men mounting horses, displaying unbridled strength. While casualties on the ground were taken from the field, those lost remembered by all who played their role.
And they started at the Suez, went right through Romani, Beersheba, Damascus, and literally defeated the Turkish Empire.
The war scenes featured live ammunitions, guns blasting for spectators to hear. Members from Port Lincoln's men's shed created replica 303 rifles that were used on the day. Many were happy to donate their time to recreate such an important moment of Australian history.
It took us a little while to find the right sort of timbers to use and the right sizes, but we worked all that out and we were very lucky to have a replica rifle to copy.
Jason Kemp, Southern Cross News.
Well, the sound of shears could be heard echoing across Broken Hill over the weekend. Why, you ask? Well, hundreds had converged on the town for a Shearing Competition Federation of Australia event, which saw young and old compete in some pretty serious shearing events.
Click, go the shears, boys, click, click, click. Wide is his bow and his hands move quick.
And I think it's great for Broken Hill and great for the visitors that come here to cheer in these competitions.
Hundreds flocked to the Musicians Club on Saturday to watch some top-class shearing and swap stories with the interstate visitors. One special guest was 12-time national and 2-time world shearing champion Shannon Warnest.
There's a lot of people here that are outside the shearing industry too, so I think a lot of people are, calibre of shearers here as well. Like, got past state champions, past Australian champions and that here, so, they're seeing, maybe not them in their prime, but, some of the best shearers that have walked this land, so I think they appreciate that as well.
The competitive shearing proved a big hit with the crowds, with many amazed at the speed of how it's done. Events like these unearth many stories, and none were more inspiring than Nikki Towers. Nikki was left a paraplegic after a car crash in September last year. She feared her time working in the shearing industry was over until her boss convinced her to come back and work as a wool handler. A video of her working in a wheelchair went viral.
I put it on Facebook, and when I had a lot of positive feedback from the industry, that's when I thought, okay, it's kind of the approval that I can go back. So yeah, they've really helped me out and embraced it, so yeah.
While the crowds weren't as big as some expected, there was still plenty of smiles, and organisers are now looking to make it a biannual event and scheduling it around Ag Fair.
Get away from the grand final weekend and looking at June, the long weekend in June, which would be a heck of a lot better for the people up here, and it'll be a lot better for us because the weather's cooler, we can find sheep quicker because most people either shear from June on, and that will make it easier for us to get sheep and getting the help that we want.
Patrick Reinke, Southern Cross News.
The finalists for the Whyalla Art Prize have been announced and put on display at the Middleback Arts Centre ahead of the awards ceremony. Country Arts is inviting local residents to take a look at the works and admire the creativity of Australians.
It's one of Australia's biggest art prizes outside of metropolitan areas, attracting works from across our continent. The biennial Whyalla Art Prize is almost ready to be awarded, with finalists now on display in the Middleback.
There were 206 entries this year. Out of that, the 3 judges from around Australia have selected from the photographic images 55 finalists.
The paintings range from the traditional to the abstract and even the unique. Judges will spend this Sunday at the Arts Centre determining the winner ahead of Monday's gala show. Officials say it'll be a tough decision for the 2017 award.
There's a hugely diverse range of styles, things made in fiberglass, things made from pieces of found objects, and then very painterly type works as well.
Residents are being invited to have a look for themselves, with the finalists on display during the day. And we're encouraged to have a good look at each work. Experts say the key to observing pieces of art is understanding the meaning behind the work and the reason for their own reaction.
Why is something worth putting on the wall and why is something else not worth putting on the wall? What's important to us? And everyone values different things and everyone sees the world in a different way.
John Hunt, Southern Cross News.
Stay with us after the break, a check of the local weather with Nicole.
Plenty of sunshine in Broken Hill today. I'll have all the details for the region next. Welcome back to the weather now. A perfectly sunny day right across the region. Seeing the temperatures starting to heat up, cracking the 30s in Port Augusta. Slightly cooler in Whyalla and Port Pirie for 29, a top of 27 in Broken Hill, with Port Lincoln trailing on 23 and a very nice 25 in Adelaide. To the satellite, there's a bit of cloud pushing across the southeast corner, which is bringing the odd shower. On the Gulf waters, winds up to 20 knots are expected, seas up to 1.5 metres, and sunrise at 5 to 7, sunset at 23 past 7. Having a look at the forecast for tomorrow, plenty of blue skies on the way. Still pretty warm with Port Augusta and Whyalla reaching up to 34. Showers expected in Port Lincoln and Coffin Bay with the temperature around the mid-20s and a top of 27 in Adelaide with a bit more rain on the way. Looking ahead, showers continuing over the next few days in Port Lincoln. Plenty of cloud about over the weekend in Cleve for 27 and similar conditions in Woodena for a top of 23 on Friday. A similar story in Whyalla, clear skies turning to cloud by the end of the week for 22. Showers beginning to clear in Port Augusta, reaching a fine 31 on Saturday, and looking like we're in for a good weekend in Kadena for 26. And it's looking like it'll be a bit clearer in Port Pirie. Showers clearing after Thursday for a fine 29 on Saturday. Similar in Clare and Broken Hill, reaching 29 to kick off the weekend. So we're in for a few showers over the next few days, otherwise looking like it'll be clearing up for a lovely Saturday.
Thanks, Nicole, and that's all from the Southern Cross newsroom for now. Thanks for your company. Hope you had a lovely long weekend. I'll have updates later on tonight. Until then, though, we'll leave you with some pictures from Calypso Star Charter's first Swim with the Sea Lions trip of the season. Some absolutely incredible pictures from our west coast. Enjoy your evening. Good night.